Everyone, today we are going to see the first chapter in history, which is when, where and how. We have already seen about meaning of history, importance of history, study of history and geographical framework in part 1. Synopsis of the lesson. In this session, we are going to see the following topics. The first one is reasons for the movement of people. The second one is sources of history. Sources that are used to study history are divided broadly into 3 categories. The first one is literary sources. The second one is archaeological sources. And the third one is accounts of foreign travelers. Literary sources. Manuscripts can be divided into 2 categories, religious and secular. First, we are going to learn about migration. Migration is a way to move from one place to another in order to live and work. Movement of people from their home to another city, state or country for a job, shelter or some other reasons is called migration. Now, let's see about reasons for the movement of people. People moved from place to place for various reasons. The following reasons can be attributed to movement of people. Here, attribute means to regard as arising from a particular cause or source. So, the first reason is people moved in search of food. The next reason is people moved in case of natural disasters like floods and famines. Famine means extreme scarcity of food or food shortages. The next reason is religious leaders moved to spread their teachings. Traders moved to sell their goods to far off places. Then kings sent their armies to conquer land. People traveled to discover new lands. So, all these helped in the exchange of ideas and mixing of people and cultures. The second topic is sources of history. Here, sources means anything or place from which something comes. History is formed on the basis of things which are remnants of the past. Here, remnants means remains. So, history is formed on the basis of things which are remains of the past. Many types of specialists from different fields of work help in understanding history. Here, specialist means experts. In other words, a person who concentrates primarily on a particular subject or activity. So, many types of specialists. Here, specialist means experts from different fields of work help in understanding history. Now, we are going to see about archaeologist. Now, let's see about who is an archaeologist. An archaeologist is a scientist who studies human history by digging human remains and artifacts. Here, artifacts means the objects of the past that were man-made, like tools ornaments, etc. Now, look at the picture where archaeologists recover objects by digging objects from sites that get buried under the earth. Archaeologist is the specialist who studies the historical monuments and remains of old sites. Here, monuments means memorial buildings. So, archaeologists dig out the old sites and take out the objects from there. Then, these objects are chemically tested by scientists through a process called carbon dating. Here, a chemical is any substance consisting of matter. This includes any liquid, solid, or gas. Scientist means a person who is studying or has expert knowledge of one or more of the natural or physical sciences. Now, let me explain this. So, scientists chemically test the objects recovered from these sites by the carbon dating process. Next, we are going to learn about sociologist. Sociologist means an expert in or student of the development, structure and functioning of human society. Here, society means the people or the community. A sociologist studies how people act within societies and other groups. Sociologists then connect things recovered in similar times and locations to see the connection between them and help us to understand how things probably happened in those times. Let me explain this. So, sociologist tries to connect things recovered in similar times and locations to understand the inner connection between them and builds up a story of the past. Next, we are going to learn about historians. A historian is a person who studies and writes about the past and is regarded as an authority on it. In other words, historian is a person who studies events of the past, and then historians record the history in a systematic manner so that people could read and understand the past. In other words, historian studies the story and records it in a systematic way so that people can understand the past. Next, let's see about scientist. Scientist, a person who is studying or has expert knowledge of one or more of the natural or physical sciences. Here, physical sciences means study of non-living things. Scientists believe that humans originated from animals. One wonders how they talked among each other, how they lived together, how languages were formed, how they learned to write. To study history, we have to take the help of various sources. It is with the help of these sources that we can form a clear picture about the past. Sources that are used to study history are divided broadly into three categories. The first one is literary sources, second one is archaeological sources, and the third one is accounts of foreign travelers. Now, we will study in detail about these categories. Now, let's see about literary sources. Literary sources are written records. Before the invention of paper, people used to write on the bark of the birch tree or palm leaves. These are called manuscripts. Manuscripts means written records on the bark of the birch tree or a palm leaf. The underlined point is important for 1 mark. Now, look at the manuscript picture. So, look at the picture. Here, manuscript on birch bark. Here, we can see palm leaf manuscript. Now, let's see some hard words. Destroy, fragile, monastery. Destroy means end the existence of something by damaging or attacking it. Fragile means breakable. In other words, of an object easily broken or damaged. Monastery means a building or buildings occupied by a community of monks living under religious vows. In other words, a building in which monks live and worship. Here, monks means a member of a religious community of men. Museum. Museum means a building in which objects of historical, scientific, artistic or cultural interest are stored and exhibited. In other words, museum is a building or place where works of art or other objects of permanent value were kept. Over a period of time, these manuscripts got destroyed. Destroyed means damaged, as they were very fragile. Fragile means easily broken, but some of them survived and have been kept in monasteries. Here, monasteries means buildings occupied by a community of monks living under religious vows, and temples are under the care of government in various museums. You all know museum is a building or place where works of art or other objects of permanent value were kept and exhibited. These manuscripts can be divided into two categories, religious and secular. So, quite a few manuscripts have not survived because of sites, and they have been eaten by insects. Now, let's see some hard words. Ancient, religious literature, definite, society. Ancient means earliest. In other words, belonging to the very distant past and no longer in existence. Here, distant means far away in space or time. Religious literature means literature which deals with religion or the books which are based on religious themes. Definite means specific or exact. Society means the people or the community. Religious literature. Religious means relating to or believing in a religion. Literature means books and writings published on a particular subject. Now, let's see about religious literature. Religious literature means literature which deals with religion, or the books which are based on religious themes. Ancient Indian literature were mostly religious in nature and contains no definite date for events. Here, definite means specific or exact. So, there is no exact date for events. Here, ancient means earliest. So, ancient Indian literature. Literature is nothing but books and writings published on a particular subject. So, ancient Indian literature were mostly religious in nature. Here, religious means relating to or believing in a religion. But they provided a wealth of knowledge about our ancient society. The Puranas, the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Tripitakas, etc. are examples of religious literature. Now let me explain what is meant by religious literature. Religious literature is mostly religious in nature and does not contain definite date for events and kings. Now let's see some hard words. Secular, grammar. Secular means not connected with religious or spiritual matters. In other words, non-religious. Grammar means the whole system and structure of a language. In other words, it is the set of structural rules. Politics, poem, drama. Politics means the activities associated with the governance of a country or area. Poem means a piece of writing in which the words are chosen for their beauty and sound and are carefully arranged, often ending in rhyme. Drama means a play for theatre, radio, or television. Finally, let's see about secular literature. Here, secular means not connected with religious or spiritual matters. In other words, non-religious. The subject of these texts were grammar, politics, poems, drama, etc. Here, grammar means the whole system and structure of a language. In other words, grammar is the set of structural rules. Politics means the activities associated with the governance of a country or area. Poem means a piece of writing in which the words are chosen for their beauty and sound and are carefully arranged, often ending in rhyme. Drama means a play for theatre, radio, or television. So, examples of secular literature are Arthashastra, written by Chanakya, Paninin's grammar, Sangam literature. Sangam literature is the earliest known literature of South India. Play written by Kalidasa, and so on, give us a glimpse of the life of people during those times. Here, glimpse means glance or brief look. So, these literature give us a brief look of the life of people during those times. I have enclosed the classwork instructions in the PDF. Kindly refer it. So now we have reached the end of this session. Thank you.